intersection.
For MPD Lieutenant Mark Cromwell, patrolling the streets of Medford is sometimes part of his daily responsibilities, but when he's at the office, he's looking for the next generation of Medford police officers. Is there a certain area or division unit that you're looking to hire more people for?
That's a good question. Here, our main focus at the Medford Police Department is our new officers that we hire are trained on patrol. And so we're looking for a diversity of experience and life experience, because within that patrol role, all of our officers have to respond to multiple different types of calls, and that's how we develop the next detective or the next domestic violence advocate, is through their work on patrol.
Although now he's shifting from traditional hiring practices, Cromwell says with the trend of officers also leaving the force in general, it can take a long time to get staffing to normal levels.
Let's say 5 people retire. It could take a significant amount of time to plug those holes, which would be, roughly 1 year, 9 months to 1 year.
And the unusual delay at Oregon's only police academy in Salem doesn't make hiring easier.
Get used to changing up a little bit.
In the context of our basic police students, what we've seen is kind of the perfect storm coming out of the COVID years.
Brian Henson is the acting director with the Oregon Department of Public Safety Standards and Training. According to state law, an officer must report to the academy no later than the 90th day of their initial hiring. Once enrolled, they have to complete 16 classes. It's spread out within the legislature-approved 2-year period, also known as a biennium.
So basically, you bring a basic police class in for 2 months in a row, and then there's a month where you don't bring one in. Then you bring them in for 2 months in a row, and then there's a month where you don't bring one in, and that spreads those 16 classes out across the biennium.
When there was a month that a class was off, the academy would then bring in a new group to start their training.
Take 2 steps to your right.
Henson says over the last couple of years, the department has looked at the number of people entering law enforcement in the state, much like a supply and demand model. It first noticed a decline in getting new recruits beginning in 2020 during the height of the COVID pandemic and police reform, but that changed just a couple of years later.
Our constituents could not find applicants, and then of the applicants that they did find, they were not able to fill positions through those applicants. In 2022, the tide kind of seems to change on that, where policing was again seen as a viable and noble profession, and so our applicant pools became full again.
While the academy is optimistic about getting more officers, the overflow in new applicants is causing a backlog. Each class can only hold a certain number of trainees, so the state allowed them to hold 18 classes now instead of 16. However, Henson says it may still not be enough, so they are again requesting more funding and increasing classes to 20.
Passenger, put your hands up!
It won't bring everything, to the forefront as far as within the 90-day window that statute requires, but it will certainly help bring students into the academy sooner than they are currently scheduled, and we'll get trained officers on the street sooner.
While students are currently assigned to classes, training won't officially begin until March of 2023. To speed things up, Lieutenant Cromwell is getting new hires ahead of the process.
We are seeing high numbers of applicants, and then we diligently work through them to find the best applicants.
Cromwell is the first officer at the department to head the new role. With their pilot program, he says they use Zoom to interview candidates out of the area. He says they also increased engagement with applicants in the pool, like coaching them throughout what could be a stressful time.
We believe that if we can train them up to interview better and help them prior to the interview, we can actually get a better assessment of who they are.
Once they pass background checks, the applicants go through 2 weeks of orientation to learn more about the department in the city of Medford. They'll then be sworn in and finally head off to Salem for official training. Despite the months-long process in getting officers on the streets, Cromwell says MPD's efforts in the community has made it easier to go through.
Without the environment as a community that supports and values law enforcement and our role, it does become challenging to keep everybody safe and do our job.